Hello, and welcome to Thriving on the Spectrum, the podcast dedicated to empowering and supporting young adults with autism on their journey towards a fulfilling life. I'm your host, Arpita Mohan, and together we'll explore invaluable insights, expert advice, and personal stories that shed light on the unique opportunities and challenges young adults with autism encounter. So, if you're a parent, caregiver, friend, or ally, join us as we explore possibilities to help young adults with autism thrive. Today, in the first of the episodes exploring what meaningful engagement looks like for autistic adults, we will talk about Cafe Arpan, the first Mumbai based cafe that solely employs persons with autism and persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We are joined by Sushama Nagarkar and Nikhil Sharma from the Cafe Arpan team. Sushma is the co-founder of Cafe Arpan, set up under Yash Charitable Trust, an NGO that believes that persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities should live and work in the community. She's a parent of an adult with autism. She's also a registered rehabilitation psychologist with extensive experience of working in the US and India. She's a lifelong student of yoga and an avid trekker. Nikhil is a neurodivergent adult who has been working with Yash Charitable Trust since the opening of Cafe Arpan. He's a counter assistant, managing orders and daily sales reports. His other interests include walking in the park, politics, and Kaun Banega Crorepati. Hi, Sushma and Nikhil. We are really happy to have you here on today's episode.
Thanks for having us, Arpita.
Thank you, madam.
We're so happy. Just to get us started, why don't we, Sushma, I'll start off with you. Could you tell us a bit about the story and the motivations behind Cafe Arpan?
So, actually, the backstory of Cafe Arpan began in 2014 or thereabouts when we actually set up Yash Charitable Trust. Now, as you've mentioned, our focus is really helping young adults to live a life that they want to live in the community of their choice and with dignity and self respect. And that's our vision. Now, when we began, we started as an experiment with the Dabba service and found that young people with these disabilities are able to work really well along with the core team of perhaps non-disabled adults in the F&B space. And when that happened, our Dabba service kind of grew organically, and we got more and more young adults inquiring whether they could join our team. The Dabba service was being run at the time in a 200 square foot space. And so that proved to be completely inadequate for the large numbers of people who were coming along. And we didn't have the heart to say no to anyone. So the next logical step was to look for another avenue where we could generate training as well as employment. And found out that their opening a cafe was a possibility from a video that we saw that came out of Manila, where a family had opened up the Puzzle Cafe for their young adult. The Puzzle Cafe unfortunately has closed since, but we said if they can do it for their person, why not us for these large numbers of wonderful people that we have? And so we looked for space. We found some professionals, architects, interior designers, and also an F&B person who all of whom volunteered their time to help us put this together and start. I'm not from the F&B space, and neither is Ashaita, my niece, who's the co-founder. But we had wonderful people to help us, and we just took the plunge, and here we are, 5 years down the line, and it's wonderful.
That sounds absolutely amazing, and it's really nice to hear how you've kind of established the space and it's really running so well over so many years. And really, the work that you've been doing is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to switch gears here, and Nikhil, I'm going to ask you the question. What do you like doing every day?
In Cafe Arpan, every day I like taking orders and doing bank work.
That sounds awesome. So, is that what you like most about your work, or is there anything else?
No, I take orders and do bank work and do the billing and I do billing and orders pay by card and some pay by GPay, some pay by cash. I take it.
That sounds really good.
Arpita,
Sushma,
if
yeah,
I might add here, and maybe Nikhil will talk about that, he speaks about his extended family.
yes,
You
I'd
want to
love to
tell
hear
that?
that.
Tell Arpita that?
Yes, Cafe Arpan is like my family. When I joined, I thought nothing but here I found some friends, and then Cafe Arpan became my family.
That sounds so nice. And that really brings me to the next question, too, just to hear how happy he is at Cafe Arpan. Sushma, for you, I've heard this story about how the folks at Cafe Arpan are so motivated to work, as Nikhil has also demonstrated, and how they have surprised you with working longer hours than you thought possible, too. So, what do you think that makes them this excited about their jobs?
There are a couple of things about this, Arpita. One is that this is real world. It's in the community. There's a lot of community-based interactions. There's a lot of give and take. A lot of being a part of something larger than themselves, and it's very much in the community that we live in. And so that is something that all the community as well as our team value, is this frequent opportunities to be a part of the larger life here, if you will. That's one thing. And the second thing is that it's a very, very valued sort of aspect of their lives. Being a working person, and we're very particular about having equality both in pay, in our working hours, in everything across the YCT supported employment initiative is all for everybody. There's no differences between somebody who may have a disability and somebody who may not. Yes, the level of education might be different, but we're all part of a larger whole, moving towards sustainable employment for everybody. So being a part of this and the journey is also, they feel valued, they feel respected, and most of all they have a sort of self-respect and dignity of what they do. And so I feel that all adds up into creating these experiences and helping everyone to just accept and be, empower each other. Really, everyone gets empowered and everyone is included in this entire journey.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I really like the point about how, you're kind of working towards being a part of the community and the larger purpose. I think that's something that all of us face, like regardless of our backgrounds, we're everything. I just, even personally for me, I think that's one of the main reasons that I really value the work that I do as well. So it's really lovely to hear that that's the case at Cafe Arpan too. Um, Going to kind of switch over to talking about, for them. So how do you think that working at Cafe Arpan has made a big difference to their lives?
I think just having a job is huge. When we talk about quality of life for us as adults, non disabled adults, for example, working or having the opportunity or the option to work is just very big in all our lives, right? And that's true of persons with disabilities as well. And they just don't have the opportunities to work at jobs that are exciting, that get them up in the mornings, and really the enthusiasm of going to work and being on time and dressing appropriately and being a part of something is just very, very important to all our team members. It's very, very rare that we have somebody, in fact it's we haven't had anyone who's come to work because they've been forced to. Everybody comes of their own volition. We're very big on teaching and having everyone on be responsible about their time, their clocking in times, their leaving, getting the cafe ready in the mornings, closing it properly at night. And we can actually rely on them. There's one young man who works with us who actually has kept a key with him, and he lives close by. And he says, if you guys ever forget your keys at home, you know that you can find one at my home. And that's really proven to be very, very useful for us, because we that has happened where somebody who had to open the cafe did leave the key behind. And so those kinds of things, and this is a person with a disability, mind you, but just able to take on that responsibility and own not only their work, but own everything about the work at Cafe Arpan as well.
That's absolutely beautiful, and I love that anecdote about the key. I think it's really nice to know how excited they are about coming in, and really how supportive everyone is of each other too. I think it really again talks to the point about Nikhil's view on it being an extended family, and just how excited everyone is to be a part of the cafe as well. Just coming to this point, I mean, Cafe Arpan is largely a very like communicative, a very interactive space. So, what do you see as the biggest strengths that persons with disabilities, as well as like autistic adults, bring to the job that drive their success as well?
I do believe that everybody can learn. All autistic or adults with other disabilities too can learn if we find the right ways to train to teach. And another big factor, of course, is their motivation. And so when all of this comes together, we find the right ways that their learning is successful. We know that they're motivated. We just have to show sort of a little bit more patience, perhaps for some, a lot of compassion and empathy, and be able to sort of take everyone along on this journey in a way that makes the most sense to them. So each one's learning is a little bit different, each one's role is going to be a little bit different. And each one's, therefore, the trajectory for each one is going to be different. And if I may speak about Nikhil, when he started out with us, he was a very different Nikhil than he is now, right? What do
Yes.
you think? And he has just grown and evolved into this role, and he is able to take on the responsibility of closing the cafe with 99% of the time zero errors. And that's something that's remarkable about Nikhil, because 100% focus is on his work. And so we find strengths in every person that works with us and work with those strengths. It's a strength based approach that we employ.
I love this because this really aligns a lot with what we were speaking about in a previous episode as well. Just really the need to kind of understand those motivations and really like understand that everyone's on different paths and aligning that with their strengths and the challenges that they could face as well. So this was really lovely to kind of, tie in with the points that we've spoken about before too. On that note, Nikhil, is there anything you find difficult at work?
A little bit the difficult is when the customers are too many.
That makes sense. And from your experience and observations, Sushma, do you see any challenges that they face in this workspace?
Yeah, I mean, like Nikhil said, and he's very aware of this, is when there are too many customers, Nikhil has a hard time with trying to keep up with the orders, which is natural when there's chaos. None of us like chaos. And Nikhil
Absolutely.
particularly doesn't like chaos at all. Everything needs to be ordered, and then he's fabulous, and all of us have these kinds of challenges ourselves, right? So every person's, again, we're focusing on the strengths. We know what the challenges are for every individual, and therefore we try to mitigate those ahead of time. So for example, with Nikhil, also one of the things is that when there's too much chaos, he needs some downtime in between that. So he's able to find a way to take 2 minutes, 3 minutes time out, right?
Yes.
And you could perhaps share what you do then, and be able to then bring himself back to an even keel to continue the work. So like that, each person has a way to sort of take their time out when they need it. And that's the beauty of the work we do, is we've got the flexibility to be able to do that. And that's what we advocate for any workspace that has neurodiverse individuals working, is that having this little flexibility accommodations really helps and goes a long way. So we work with those challenges and find ways and help encourage our adults, because finally it's them to find ways to overcome the challenges for themselves and advocate for themselves, which is really important.
Absolutely. I'd actually love to hear what Nikhil does in when he wants some time off.
Yes, I like to when there is too many customers. I go for up part for a little bit break and then freshen up the mind and come back.
And what do you do to freshen up your mind? That's really important.
I pray.
That's awesome. That's really awesome to hear as well. And I like your point about just that, like the fact that all of us do face these challenges. I mean, we all have our own ways of dealing with this at work too. So it's really important to recognize that there's need for these accommodations and everyone has, different ways of handling this. We're actually towards the end of the episode. So before we wind up, do you have anything you want to share, Nikhil?
Yeah, yes. I go after going back to home. I watch Kaun Banega Crorepati. Whenever some mythological answers comes, I immediately answer some mythological questions.
That's awesome. I do not know much there, but I would love to learn more, and I would definitely want to learn more from you. That's definitely my weak point, but that's great to hear as well. And for Sushma, for you, do you have any other last thoughts that you'd like to share with us on this episode?
I think, well, thanks for having us, Arpita. And I think that the biggest message for me is that, every one of us has potential. Every one of us, regardless of neurodiversity or not, has the capability to work and be a part of the community if we choose to. And that we need to explore together those options and what those might be, in sort of in using a strength based approach. So what can we bring back to the community? How can we be a part of this larger community and on the same journey? I think it's possible. I think we shortchange ourselves and our adults when we don't look beyond, certain established ways of doing things. I think one has to be willing to take that risk and think outside the box.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to wrap it up, and I definitely agree with it. I think this is something that I hear more and more, even at my workplace, just the importance of kind of recognizing potential, and it goes way beyond just, who we are or where we're from. So that was a really lovely note to have. Other than that, the biggest learning I had from this episode is that motivation to work largely stems from the individual's interest in the activity and their feeling of belonging. Also, that accommodation needs to be created to build a supportive environment for neurodiverse individuals that will then help them thrive. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode filled with inspiration, support, and hope. On our next episode, we will be joined by Varun and Veena Narain and will continue our conversation on meaningful engagement through entrepreneurship. Until next time, take care, stay positive, and keep thriving.